At a crowded restaurant in Chicago, Emma, a single mother, is working herself to exhaustion just to earn every dollar she can to pay for treatment for her young daughter who is fighting cancer. Suddenly, a difficult billionaire walks by someone no one wants to serve because he is famous for stingy. Only the single mother steps forward and serves him with genuine care. But when he leaves, Emma opens the bill and is immediately crushed to see the tip is only $0. Everyone around her shakes their heads in disbelief. She thinks she has been humiliated until she discovers a mysterious note left behind with a midnight meeting written on it. What she doesn't know is that this single piece of paper is about to change her entire life forever. Before we go back, let us know where you're watching from and subscribe because tomorrow I've got something extra special for you. The alarm screamed at 5:00 a.m. Emma Davis slapped it silent and lay there in the darkness, every muscle in her body screaming its own protest. 4 hours of sleep. That was all she'd gotten. Again. She forced herself out of bed. The floor was cold against her bare feet. Chicago in November was brutal, and the landlord had turned off the heat 2 weeks ago because she was late on rent. Again. Emma tiptoed to the bathroom, careful not to wake Lily. The mirror showed a stranger, dark circles under her eyes, cheekbones too sharp from skipping meals, so Lily could eat hair that desperately needed washing. She was 29 years old. She looked 40. Emma splashed cold water on her face, brushed her teeth with a toothbrush that needed replacing months ago, and pulled her hair into a tight bun. No time for a shower. She'd shower tonight. Maybe. She sat on the edge of the bed and examined her black flats. The right one had a separation between the sole and the upper. She'd noticed it yesterday, felt it getting worse with every step during her 12-hour shift. She grabbed the duct tape from the nightstand drawer. This was her life now. Duct tape solutions, temporary fixes, holding everything together with whatever was available. Emma wrapped the tape around the bottom of her shoe, carefully pressing hard to make sure it would last through another shift. The left shoe would probably make it through the week. The right one, she'd be lucky if it lasted until tonight. She stood, tested her weight on the repaired shoe. It held. For now. Emma walked to Lily's room and pushed open the door quietly. Her daughter was curled under a thin blanket, decorated with butterflies that had faded from too many washings. Lily's head was wrapped in a soft pink scarf. She'd lost all her hair 3 months ago from the chemotherapy. Emma sat on the edge of the bed, her heart breaking like it did every morning when she saw how small Lily looked, how fragile. "Baby," Emma whispered, touching Lily's forehead gently. Warm, but not feverish. Thank God. "Mommy's leaving for work." Lily's eyes fluttered open, brown eyes exactly like Emma's. "Already?" "Yeah, sweetie, but Mrs. Patterson will be here at 7 to make you breakfast. She said something about pancakes." "With chocolate chips." Lily's voice was hopeful, childlike, breaking Emma's heart all over again. "Maybe, if you're good and take your medicine." Emma kissed her forehead, breathing in the smell of her daughter's skin. "I love you more than the whole world." "Love you more than the whole universe," Lily whispered back. It was their ritual, their promise to each other. Emma stood to leave, but Lily's small hand grabbed hers. "Mommy, when am I going to get better?" The question punched Emma in the stomach. She forced a smile, forced her voice to stay steady. "Soon, baby. The doctors are going to make you all better, I promise." Lily nodded, but Emma saw the doubt in her eyes. Kids weren't stupid. Lily knew something was very, very wrong. Emma kissed her again, then left before Lily could see the tears. In the kitchen, Emma opened the refrigerator. The shelves were mostly bare. 1 egg, a quarter carton of milk that was probably going bad, some leftover rice from 3 days ago that she'd saved in a plastic container. She cracked the egg into the pan with trembling hands. While it cooked, she pulled out her phone. 3 new notifications lit up the screen. Electric company final notice. Service will be disconnected in 48 hours. Landlord rent overdue. Pay within 5 days or vacate premises. And the third one, the one that made Emma's hands shake so badly she almost dropped the phone. Children's Memorial Hospital patient Lily Davis. Bone marrow transplant deposit required. Amount $180,000. Final deadline 10 days. 10 days. Emma stared at that number. $180,000. It might as well have been 10 million, a billion, an impossible, unreachable mountain of money. She made $2.13 an hour base pay as a waitress, plus tips. On a good night, a really good night, she went home with $70. On a bad night, maybe 30. She'd been saving for 8 months. She had $3,847 in her account. Even if she saved every single penny for the next 10 years, she'd never come close. The egg burned in the pan, filling the kitchen with smoke. Emma turned off the stove and scraped the blackened egg into the trash. She wasn't hungry anyway. Her stomach was twisted in knots. She grabbed her purse, a worn black thing she'd bought at Goodwill for $5, and headed for the door. On the small table by the entrance where Lily kept her crayons and construction paper, there was a new drawing. Emma picked it up. 2 stick figures holding hands, one tall with long hair that was Emma, one small with a scarf that was Lily. Above them, written in shaky crayon letters, "Mommy is a superhero." Emma pressed the drawing to her chest and let herself cry for exactly 30 seconds. She counted them. 1, 2, 3, breathe, 4, 5, 6. At 30, she wiped her face, put the drawing back on the table, and walked out into the cold morning. The bus stop was 4 blocks away. Emma's feet already hurt by the time she got there. The Crown was the kind of restaurant where appetizers started at $45 and entrees could run $200. White tablecloths, crystal chandeliers, a wine list thicker than a phone book. Emma had worked there for 3 years. She knew every table number, every crack in the marble floor, every temperamental quirk of the espresso machine. She clocked in at 6:47 a.m., 13 minutes early, like always. "You're late." Emma looked up. Thompson stood by the time clock, arms crossed over his barrel chest. He was a short man who compensated with meanness and cologne so strong it made Emma's eyes water. "Mr. Thompson, I'm early. My shift starts at 7. If you're on time, you're late. That's the rule." He shoved a clipboard at her chest. "Table assignments, sections 3 and 4 today." Emma looked at the paper and felt her heart sink. Sections 3 and 4 were the worst in the restaurant, right by the swinging kitchen doors where it was hot and loud, far from the bar, with that one wobbly table that customers always complained about. "Mr. Thompson, I had 3 and 4 yesterday. Rachel said she'd switch with me today because I covered her Saturday." "I don't care what Rachel said." Thompson's voice was flat. "You've got 3 and 4. Do your job or I'll find someone who will." Emma bit the inside of her cheek hard enough to taste blood. "Yes, sir." Thompson walked away, trailing that awful cologne. Emma tied her apron around her waist and checked the pocket. And the hospital notice was there, folded into a small, thick square. She couldn't leave it at home. She needed to feel it to remember why she was doing this, why she smiled at people who snapped their fingers at her like she was a dog, why she endured Thompson's cruelty and Rachel's smugness, why she worked until her feet bled and her back screamed. For Lily. Everything was for Lily. The morning shift was brutal. A businessman sent his eggs back 3 times because they weren't fluffy enough, even though they looked identical each time. A couple argued for 20 minutes about whether to get the salmon or the sea bass, then blamed Emma when their food took too long. A woman lectured Emma about the importance of education while tipping exactly 10% on a $100 bill. By noon, Emma's feet were on fire, but Emma stayed. She always stayed. When the lunch rush bled into dinner prep, Thompson didn't ask if she could cover the evening shift. He simply handed her a new section sheet and said, "Don't mess this up." By the time the chandeliers were dimmed and the dinner crowd arrived, Emma had already been on her feet for 11 hours. The duct tape on her right shoe had started to peel. Every step felt like walking on broken glass and hot coals simultaneously. She ducked into the staff bathroom and tried to rewrap the tape. Her hands shook from exhaustion and low blood sugar. She hadn't eaten anything except half a piece of toast 16 hours ago. The door swung open. Rachel walked in, already reapplying lipstick in the mirror. She was 22, blonde, pretty, in that effortless way that came from never having to worry about money. "Oh, good you're here," Rachel said without looking at Emma. "I need you to cover table 7 for me." Emma frowned. "Table 7, that's in your section." "Yeah, and I'm giving it to you." Rachel capped her lipstick. "VIP just walked in. I'm not dealing with it." "Rachel, I already have 9 tables." "So now you have 10. You should be grateful. VIPs tip big." Rachel finally turned to face Emma, and her smile was sharp, cruel. "Look, I heard about your kid, the cancer thing. So I'm doing you a favor, okay? A VIP tip could be like $100. You need it more than I do." Emma's jaw clenched. "Who's the VIP?" Rachel's smile widened. "Marcus Cole." Emma's blood turned to ice. Everyone in Chicago knew that name. Marcus Cole. tech billionaire, self-made fortune, built an empire from nothing and crushed anyone who got in his way. The tabloids called him the Ice King, and he was famous for one other thing. He never tipped, ever. Rachel, everyone knows he doesn't tip. So maybe you'll be the exception. Rachel walked past Emma toward the door. But hey, if you don't want it, I'm sure Thompson would love to hear how you're refusing tables during the lunch rush. She left her laughter echoing down the hallway. Emma stared at her reflection in the bathroom mirror. She looked defeated, exhausted, broken. Then she thought about Lily's drawing. Mommy is a superhero. Superheroes didn't give up. Emma rewrapped the duct tape tighter, straightened her stained collar, and walked back into the dining room. Time to face the Ice King. Table 7 sat in the VIP section, a corner booth with velvet curtains that could be drawn for complete privacy. The lighting was softer here, more intimate. It was where celebrities came to hide from cameras, where CEOs made deals they didn't want recorded. Emma approached slowly, clutching her order pad like a shield. Marcus Cole sat with his back to the wall, illuminated by the glow of his phone. He was exactly what the photos showed, tall, broad-shouldered, with dark brown skin and features that looked carved from stone, sharp cheekbones, strong jaw. He wore a charcoal suit that probably cost more than Emma made in 6 months, maybe a year. But it was his eyes that made Emma's breath catch when he finally looked up. Cold, calculating, dark brown, almost black. The eyes of someone who saw everything and felt nothing. "Good evening, sir." Emma's voice came out steadier than she felt. "My name is Emma, and I'll be taking care of you tonight. Can I start you with something to drink?" Marcus didn't look up from his phone. His fingers moved across the screen with practiced precision. Water, room temperature, exactly 70 degrees Fahrenheit, not 68, not 72, 70. His voice was deep resonant, completely devoid of warmth. "No ice. Slice of lemon, but I want the rind removed completely. I don't want the oils from the peel." Emma blinked. Yes, sir. Room temperature water at 70 degrees with lemon, no rind. And I want it in 3 minutes, not 4, not 5. 3 minutes exactly." "Yes, sir." Emma turned and walked as quickly as her damaged shoes would allow. At the bar, she grabbed a thermometer. Thank God the Crown had them for the wine service, and filled a glass with filtered water. She held the thermometer in the water, watching the mercury climb. 65, 68, 70. Perfect. She grabbed a lemon and a paring knife. Her hands worked quickly, carefully removing the bright yellow rind until only the pale flesh remained. She sliced a thin round and placed it in the glass. 2 minutes 38 seconds. Emma carried the water back to table 7, setting it down on the coaster with precise alignment. Marcus picked up the glass without looking at her. He examined the lemon slice against the light like he was inspecting a diamond, then took a single sip. He set it down. Still no eye contact. Acceptable. Emma weighted her pen poised over her order pad. Was she supposed to take that as approval dismissal A test she'd barely passed? "Are you ready to order, sir?" Now Marcus looked at her. Really looked at her. His eyes traveled from her face down to her scuffed shoes and back up again. Emma felt dissected under that gaze. "The ribeye," he said. "But tell Chef Laurent to use Wagyu, not the standard cut. I want it seared for exactly 3 minutes and 20 seconds per side. Not 3 minutes, not 3.5. Exactly 3 minutes and 20 seconds. Medium rare. If it comes out medium, I'm sending it back." Emma wrote frantically. "Wagyu ribeye, 3 minutes 20 seconds per side, medium rare. And substitute the pearl onions with shallots. Pearl onions are pedestrian." Emma's pen froze. "Sir Chef Laurent is very particular about modifications to his dishes. I don't care what Chef Laurent thinks. This is what I'm paying for." Marcus's voice didn't rise, but the temperature in the booth seemed to drop 20 degrees. "Can you handle that request, or should I speak with your manager?" Emma's stomach twisted into knots. If she bothered Thompson with this, he'd explode and probably dock her pay. If she didn't get the order exactly right, Marcus would complain, and she'd be fired anyway. Damned either way. "I'll make sure the kitchen prepares it exactly as you specified, sir." "Good." Marcus returned to his phone, dismissing her like she'd ceased to exist. Emma walked to the kitchen on legs that felt like rubber. She found Chef Laurent at his station, orchestrating 5 different dishes simultaneously. "Chef, I need a special order for table 7. Laurent looked up, his face already showing irritation. He was a short French man with a temper that matched his talent. "Table 7, the VIP booth, what does he want?" Emma rattled off the modifications. With each word, Laurent's face turned a deeper shade of purple. "Shallots, shallots." His voice rose above the kitchen noise. "He comes into my kitchen and tells me how to cook my ribeye. Please, chef." He's very specific. He said, "If it's not perfect." "Fine, fine." Laurent slammed a pan onto the stove hard enough to make everyone nearby jump. "But if this pompous ass complains that my food is not to his liking, I will go out there myself and shove the shallots down his throat." "Thank you, chef. I really appreciate." But Laurent had already turned away, barking orders at his sous chef in rapid French. Emma spent the next 40 minutes in a state of barely controlled panic. She checked on her other 9 tables, refilling waters, clearing plates, smiling until her face muscles ached. But her mind never left table 7. Finally, Laurent called out, "Order up table 7." The plate looked perfect. The wagyu was a gorgeous pink juices pooling slightly on the white porcelain. The shallots glistened. Everything was artfully arranged. Emma carried it like she was transporting a bomb through a minefield. "Your wagyu ribeye, sir." She set it down carefully. Shallots instead of pearl onions, seared 3 minutes and 20 seconds per side, medium rare. Marcus cut into the steak. Pink juice spread across the plate. He lifted a piece to his mouth, chewed slowly, deliberately. Emma held her breath. "Acceptable," he said finally. Relief flooded through Emma so intensely she felt dizzy. "Is there anything else I can get for you?" Marcus set down his fork and knife. "Sit down." Emma froze. "I'm sorry." "Sit down." He gestured to the empty seat across from him. "Sir, I can't. I'm working. I have other tables. I'm paying $312 for this meal. I want conversation." His eyes locked onto hers. "Sit." Emma glanced around desperately. Thompson was in his office. Rachel was busy with a large party. No one was watching. Slowly, like she was approaching a wild animal, Emma slid into the booth. Marcus leaned back, studying her with that unsettling intensity. "What's your story, Emma?" "My story? You're different from the other servers here. They're working this job because it's close to money and power, because it looks good on an Instagram post. You're not here for any of that." He tilted his head slightly. "You're desperate. Why?" Every instinct screamed at Emma to stand up and walk away. This was inappropriate. This was none of his business. But she thought about the hospital bill, about 10 days, about Lily. "I have a daughter," Emma said quietly. "She's 6 years old. She has leukemia. She needs a bone marrow transplant and insurance won't cover it all. I need to come up with $180,000 in 10 days. Silence. Marcus's expression didn't change. No sympathy, no warmth, no emotion at all. "So you're here," he said slowly, "serving people who look through you like you're invisible, hoping that someone will tip enough to save your child's life." The words stung because they were true. Yes, that's a terrible strategy. Emma's hands clenched into fists under the table. "Excuse me? You're relying on luck, on charity, on the kindness of strangers who have no reason to care whether you live or die." Marcus picked up his wine glass, swirling the deep red liquid. "In business, relying on luck is a guaranteed path to failure." Tears burned Emma's eyes. "What else am I supposed to do? I'm a single mother with no college degree, working 2 jobs. This is the best I could get." "Is it? Or is it the job you settled for because you didn't think you deserved better?" The question hit Emma like a slap. She stood up abruptly. "I need to get back to work." "Sit down. I'm not finished." "Well, I am." Emma's voice shook with anger. "You want to judge my life? Fine. You want to tell me I'm a failure? I already know that, Mr. Cole. But I show up every single day. I work until my feet bleed. I smile at people who treat me like garbage. I do whatever it takes to keep my daughter alive. So you can take your opinions and your $300 steak and..." She stopped herself before she said something that would get her fired. Emma walked away before Marcus could respond, her heart pounding so hard she could hear it in her ears. For the next 20 minutes, she avoided table 7 like it was radioactive. She served her other tables with a smile plastered on her face, even though inside she was screaming. Finally, she saw Marcus stand and walk to the front. He paid at the register with a black card, probably one of those invitation-only cards with no spending limit, and left without looking back. Emma waited 5 full minutes before approaching table 7 to clear it. The table was clean, plate scraped clean, wine glass empty, napkin folded neatly, and in the center sat the leather bill folder. Emma's hands trembled as she opened it. The receipt showed $312.75, and in the tip line, someone had drawn a thick red slash. Then written in bold red ink, $0, 000. Nothing. After everything, after the perfect water temperature, after battling Chef Laurent for the modifications, after enduring his interrogation, Marcus Cole had left her absolutely nothing. "Oh my God!" Rachel's voice came from directly behind Emma. "Did the Ice King really give you 0? Emma couldn't speak. Her throat had closed up completely. "I told you!" Rachel's voice was loud enough to carry across the dining room. Other servers turned to look. "Marcus Cole doesn't tip. He's famous for it. But you thought you were special, didn't you?" Laughter rippled through the staff. Emma wanted to disappear, to melt into the floor, to cease existing. "Clear that table, Miller," Thompson's voice boomed. "We have a wait list. Move it." Emma grabbed a bus tub with numb hands and started stacking plates. As she lifted the dinner plate, something white slipped out from underneath the heavy charger plate beneath it. Emma frowned. She set down the plates and picked up the paper. It was thick, expensive stationery, cream-colored, folded once. With trembling fingers, Emma unfolded it. The handwriting was precise. Angular, written in black fountain pen ink, "Midnight, Pier 47 Warehouse. Come alone. Prove you're willing to fight. MC." Emma read it 3 times, her heart hammering. This was insane. This was a setup, a trap. But at the very bottom, in smaller letters, Marcus had added one more line. $0 because you're not a servant. You're a survivor. Now prove it. Emma stood in the staff bathroom staring at the note for the 100th time. Pier 47, midnight. Come alone. This was how people disappeared. This was how bodies ended up in Lake Michigan. But then she thought about Lily's face that morning. The way her daughter had asked, "When am I going to get better?" The hope and doubt mixed together in those brown eyes. Emma pulled out her phone and dialed Mrs. Patterson. "Hello," the elderly woman's voice was groggy with sleep. "Mrs. Patterson, I'm so sorry to call this late. I need a huge favor. Can you stay with Lily tonight? I have to work late. A special event." "Of course, dear. Is everything all right?" "No." "Yes. I might not be back until very early morning." "Don't you worry. Lily and I will have a lovely evening. I'll make her hot chocolate." Emma's throat tightened. "Thank you. I can't tell you how much." "Hush now. You just do what you need to do. We'll be fine." Emma hung up and looked at herself in the mirror. Dark circles under her eyes. Clothes wrinkled from a 12-hour shift. Shoes held together with duct tape. This was crazy. But crazy was all she had left. The last bus to the industrial district left at 11:40 p.m. Emma barely made it running the last 2 blocks on her damaged shoes. The bus was nearly empty. Just Emma, an elderly man who smelled like cigarettes, and a young woman with headphones who never looked up from her phone. Emma sat in the back and watched Chicago pass by outside the window. The glittering downtown gave way to darker neighborhoods, closed shops, abandoned buildings, the kind of area where bad things happened and nobody asked questions. The bus driver called out, "Pier 47, last stop in this direction." Emma stood on shaking legs. The driver turned to look at her, a heavy-set woman with tired eyes. "You sure about this stop, honey? Ain't nothing out here but warehouses and trouble." "I'm sure." The driver shook her head. "Your funeral." The doors hissed shut behind Emma, and the bus pulled away, leaving her alone in the darkness. Pier 47 sat on the edge of Lake Michigan, where the city's industrial zone met the water. Massive warehouses loomed against the night sky. The air smelled like oil rust and dead fish. Emma pulled her thin coat tighter and started walking. Her footsteps echoed on the empty street. Every shadow looked like a threat. Every sound made her jump: the distant clang of metal, the screech of a ship's horn, the skittering of rats in the darkness. Ahead, she saw it, a black SUV with tinted windows engine idling, parked near a warehouse entrance. Emma's heart hammered against her ribs. She could turn around right now, go home, hold Lily close, and pretend this night never happened. But then what? Wait for the hospital to call in 10 days and tell her they couldn't do the surgery, watch her daughter die. Emma kept walking. As she approached the SUV, the passenger window rolled down. A man with a thick neck and an earpiece stared at her with flat, professional eyes. "Name," he said. It wasn't a question. "Emma. Emma Davis." The man touched his earpiece, speaking quietly. "Package is here." Then he looked at Emma. "Side entrance. Straight ahead until you see the light." The heavy metal door groaned open as Emma pushed it. Inside, the warehouse was cavernous. Shipping containers stacked 3 high. steel beams crisscrossing overhead. The air was cold enough to see her breath. In the center of the vast space, under a bank of industrial lights, sat a folding table and 2 metal chairs. Marcus Cole sat in one of them. He'd removed his suit jacket and rolled up his shirt sleeves. No expensive watch on his wrist. No tie. He looked almost ordinary. Almost. He was typing on a laptop, his fingers moving rapidly across the keyboard. He didn't look up as Emma's footsteps echoed across the concrete floor. Emma stopped a few feet from the table, her entire body trembling from cold, from fear, from the insanity of what she was doing. "You came," Marcus said, still not looking up. "You left me a note. Most people wouldn't have come. They would have been too afraid. Or too smart." He finally looked up, and his eyes caught her in that intense gaze again. "Which are you, Emma, afraid or smart?" "I'm desperate," Emma said. "You already know that." Something flickered across Marcus's face. "Respect, maybe." "Sit down." Emma sat. The metal chair was freezing through her thin work pants. Marcus closed his laptop and leaned back, studying her. "Do you know why I left you $0 tonight?" Emma's jaw clenched. "Because you're testing me. You said so in your note." "Partially. I needed to see how you'd react under pressure, under humiliation, under anger." He paused. "Most people break, Emma. They quit. They give up. They accept that the world is unfair and stop fighting." His eyes never left hers. "But you came here, at midnight, to a warehouse, even though you're terrified, even though this could be a trap. That tells me something about who you are." "What do you want from me?" Marcus pulled a thick folder from a briefcase on the floor and dropped it on the table with a heavy thud. Papers spilled out, spreadsheets, shipping manifest container numbers, weight records. Cole Industries, my company, $8 billion in annual revenue, 3 divisions: AI, development, logistics, and data security. He opened the folder, spreading papers across the table. "Somewhere in my operation, someone is stealing from me. $4 million a year, gone. My accountants can't find it. My auditors can't find it. My executives, all Harvard and Yale graduates with decades of experience, they can't find it." He pushed the folder toward Emma. "You have 90 minutes. If you find the leak, I write you a check for $200,000 tonight. Enough for Lily's surgery with money left over for 6 months of expenses." Emma stared at the papers, then at Marcus. "I'm a waitress. I don't know anything about—" "You don't need to know about corporate logistics. You need to know about patterns, about inconsistencies, about details." Marcus pulled out his phone and turned it toward her. On the screen was Lily's complete medical file, diagnosis, treatment history, prognosis, surgery schedule. Emma felt like she'd been punched. "How did you get that? That's private." "I know everything about you, Emma Davis." Marcus set the phone down carefully. "Lily Davis, 6 years old, acute lymphoblastic leukemia, complicated by hypoplastic left heart syndrome, needs bone marrow transplant. Cost after insurance $180,000. Deposit required in 10 days or surgery is canceled." He leaned forward. "I don't make offers to strangers. So yes, I investigated you. I know about your husband dying in a construction accident 4 years ago. I know about your foreclosed house. I know you work 2 jobs and sleep 4 hours a night. I know you put duct tape on your shoes because you can't afford new ones." Emma's face burned with humiliation. "You had no right. I had every right. If I'm going to trust someone with my business, I need to know everything about them." Marcus stood and walked to the edge of the light. 90 minutes, Emma, starting now." He pulled out his phone and made a call, leaving Emma alone with the impossible task. Emma stared at the folder. Her hands shook as she pulled the first page toward her. Container manifests, hundreds of them. Endless columns of numbers, weights, dates, container IDs, origin ports, destination ports, contents, values. This was impossible. She was a waitress. She served food and smiled and calculated tips in her head. She wasn't an analyst. She wasn't qualified for this. But then Emma thought about her job, about remembering 12 different orders across 12 different tables, who wanted dressing on the side, who was allergic to shellfish, who needed a refill before they asked, about calculating split checks for parties of 10 while customers argued over who had the extra appetizer, about knowing exactly which tables were about to ask for their check based on their body language. Details, patterns, inconsistencies. That was just data in a different form. Emma grabbed the pen on the table and started reading. Container 847B. Contents: electronics, laptops, tablets. Value $450,000. Departure weight 12,000 lbs. Arrival weight 11,100 pounds. 900-pound difference. She flipped to the next page. Container 921C. Contents: luxury textiles, designer clothing. Value $380,000. Departure weight 8,500 pounds. Arrival weight 7,800 pounds. 700-pound difference. Emma kept flipping, container after container. Some showed perfect weight matches, but others, high-value electronics, medical equipment, designer goods, showed consistent weight losses. She grabbed a calculator from the table and started punching numbers. Container 847B lost 7.5% of weight. Container 921C lost 8.2% of weight. Container 1205A lost 8.7% of weight, always between 7 and 9%. Never more, never less. That wasn't random. That wasn't measurement error. That was deliberate. Emma checked the signatures at the bottom of each manifest. Each shipment required approval from a loading supervisor before the container was sealed. Container 847B, signed by DH. Container 921C, signed by DH. Container 1205A, signed by DH. She grabbed more pages, her heart racing. DH appeared on every single container with a weight discrepancy. But not every container. Some were signed by other supervisors, JR, KS, Minhee, and those containers, perfect weight matches. No discrepancies at all. Emma cross-referenced the dates. DH worked Mondays and Fridays. On those days, high-value containers consistently lost 7 to 9% of their weight. Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, different supervisors. No problems. Then Emma noticed something else. In tiny print in the corner of each manifest was an automated crane record, the weight measured when the crane lifted each container onto the ship. The crane weights matched the original departure weights, but DH's signature logs showed lower numbers. Someone was stealing product after the crane weighed it, but before the container was sealed. Then they were falsifying the paperwork to make it look like the container had weighed less from the start. Emma looked up. Marcus was standing at the edge of the light, watching her. "Who's DH?" Emma asked. Marcus's entire body went rigid. "What did you find?" Emma turned the papers around her finger, stabbing at the pattern. Every container with a weight discrepancy was signed off by DH. It's always 7 to 9% of the total weight. Only high-value shipments. The automated crane records show one weight, but DH's manual logs show a lower weight. She pulled the calculator over. Based on the value of the stolen goods and the frequency of theft, DH is taking approximately $4.1 million per year, but because it's under 10% per shipment, it looks like acceptable loss or measurement variance. Small enough to hide, consistent enough to profit. Marcus stared at the papers. His hands slowly curled into fists, knuckles going white. "DH," he said, his voice barely above a whisper. "David Harrison, my chief operations officer." He looked up at Emma. "My brother-in-law." Emma's stomach dropped. I'm sorry. Maybe I'm wrong." "You're not wrong." Marcus walked back to the table. He pulled out his checkbook, an actual physical checkbook, the kind Emma hadn't seen in years. He wrote quickly, the pen scratching across the paper. Then he tore the check free with a sharp rip and held it out. Emma took it with trembling hands. "Pay to the order of Emma Davis, amount $200, 000.00 $200,000. More money than Emma had seen in her entire life. "You just saved me $4 million a year," Marcus said. His voice was controlled, but Emma could hear the fury underneath. "David's been stealing for at least 18 months, maybe longer. My audit team missed it because they were looking at financial transactions, not physical logistics. They were searching for missing money in the accounts. They never thought to check if the actual products were disappearing." He sat down suddenly, looking exhausted. "I have a proposition for you, Emma." Emma couldn't take her eyes off the check. This was real. This was actually happening. Lily's surgery, rent, food, safety. "What kind of proposition?" "Work for me. Your official title will be Chief Operations Analyst. Unofficially, you'll be my eyes and ears. You'll attend meetings, review operations, identify inefficiencies and fraud." Marcus leaned forward. "I'm surrounded by people who went to the right schools, know the right people say the right things. And they're robbing me blind because they think I'm too busy to notice the details. They think their credentials make them invisible." He looked directly at Emma. "But you see what they miss. You're not part of their world. You're not blinded by loyalty or old boy networks or family ties. You notice the lemon rind in the water. You see the patterns in the noise." "I don't know anything about business," Emma protested. "I'll teach you business. I can't teach instinct. I can't teach the ability to see details under pressure." Marcus held out his hand. Salary $250,000 per year. Full benefits package. Private health care for you and Lily. No copays, no deductibles, no limits. You'll live on my estate in the guest house, so you're available when I need you. But you quit the Crown tonight, and you sign an NDA. If you breach confidentiality, I will destroy you. Financially, professionally, completely. Do you understand? Emma stared at his extended hand. This was insane. People like her didn't get offers like this. This was a fairy tale. This wasn't real life. But she thought about Lily's drawing. Mommy is a superhero. She thought about Thompson's cruelty, Rachel's smugness, the duct tape on her shoes. She thought about having a real chance to give her daughter a real life. Emma reached out and shook Marcus's hand. His grip was firm, final, unbreakable. "Welcome to Coal Industries," Marcus said. "Try not to drown." 2 days later, Emma and Lily stood in front of the coal estate, and Lily's jaw was hanging open. "Mommy," Lily whispered, clutching Emma's hand. "Is this a castle?" "It's Mr. Cole's house, baby. We're going to live here." "Not in the big house, in the guest house behind it." Emma squeezed Lily's hand, trying to anchor herself to reality. "It's just for us." The estate sprawled across 5 manicured acres. Rolling green lawns, stone pathways, fountains. The main house was ultra-modern glass and dark stone, 3 stories of clean lines and expensive architecture overlooking Lake Michigan in the distance. Marcus met them at the entrance. He was dressed casually, dark jeans, a black sweater, the most normal Emma had ever seen him look. "Welcome," he said. Then he crouched down to Lily's eye level. "You must be Lily." Lily hid behind Emma's legs, peeking out shyly. "I heard you like to draw," Marcus continued gently. "I had an art studio set up in the guest house, fully stocked with supplies. And when you're feeling better, there's a heated pool out back." Lily's eyes went wide. "A pool? A real pool? Real and heated, year-round swimming." "Mommy, did you hear that?" Lily tugged on Emma's sleeve, her shyness forgotten. "A pool." Marcus stood and gestured for them to follow. He led them through the main house, past a living room with a fireplace that could fit a car, a dining room with a table that seated 20, a library with floor-to-ceiling bookshelves that made Emma want to cry from beauty. Out the back door, across a stone pathway lined with flowers, sat the guest house. It was twice the size of their old apartment. 2 bedrooms, a full gourmet kitchen with appliances Emma didn't know how to use, a living room with enormous windows overlooking a garden that looked like something from a magazine. Emma set down their 2 battered suitcases, everything they owned in the world, and felt completely out of place. "Lily's surgery is scheduled for next Thursday," Marcus said, pulling out his phone. "Dr. Sarah Chen is flying in from Johns Hopkins. She's the top pediatric transplant surgeon in the country. I'm told she's performed over 200 successful bone marrow transplants." Emma's throat tightened. "Thank you. I don't know how to." "Don't thank me yet. You haven't survived your first day at work." Marcus checked his watch. "There's a charity gala tomorrow night. Museum of Contemporary Art. Every major player in Chicago will be there. You're coming with me." "I don't have anything to wear to an event like..." "Stylist will be here at noon tomorrow. She'll handle everything." Marcus headed for the door, then paused. "Emma, welcome to my world. It's not as pretty as it looks." The door closed behind him. Emma stood in the middle of her new home, holding Lily's hand, and felt like she was standing on the edge of a cliff. That night, after Lily fell asleep in her new bedroom, a room bigger than their entire old apartment, with a bed so soft, Lily had giggled when she laid down. Emma sat in the living room and cried, not from sadness, from relief, from terror, from the overwhelming feeling that this couldn't possibly last. She checked her bank account. The $200,000 check had cleared. It was real money, real safety. Emma transferred $180,000 to the hospital, immediately paying Lily's surgery deposit in full. Then she sat there staring at the remaining numbers on her screen and cried harder. The next morning, Emma woke up at 5:00 a.m. out of habit, her body conditioned to early shifts. For a moment, she panicked, thinking she was late for work at the Crown. Then she remembered. She didn't work there anymore. She worked for Marcus Cole now. Emma got out of bed, the softest bed she'd ever slept in, and walked to the kitchen. She started to make coffee with the fancy machine, then realized she had no idea how to use it. A man in a suit appeared in the doorway, making Emma jump. "Good morning, Miss Davis." His voice was cold and formal. "I'm Richard Thompson, head of household staff." Emma frowned. Thompson, like my old manager. No relation. Richard didn't smile. Mr. Cole has requested your presence for breakfast at 8 o'clock sharp. Main house, east dining room. Okay, thank you. Richard didn't move. Miss Davis, a piece of advice. The staff entrance is around the back of the main house. You're not a guest here. You're an employee. There's a difference. He left before Emma could respond. Emma stood in her beautiful kitchen, feeling the familiar sting of being put in her place. Some things never changed. Breakfast with Marcus was awkward and tense. He sat at one end of an absurdly long table reading reports on a tablet. Emma sat at the other end picking at eggs Benedict she was too nervous to eat. You'll attend meetings with me, Marcus said without looking up. Take notes. Observe. Listen. Your job is to identify patterns, inefficiencies, potential problems. But you don't speak unless I ask you a direct question. Understood. Understood. Tonight's gala will be more challenging. You'll meet the board of directors, major investors, competitors. He finally looked at her. And my fiancé. Emma's fork clattered onto her plate. Your fiancé. Vanessa Price, corporate attorney. We've been engaged for 2 years. Something twisted in Emma's chest, a feeling she had no right to feel. Oh, I didn't know you were engaged. Most people don't. Vanessa prefers to keep her personal life private. Marcus returned to his tablet. The stylist arrives at noon. Don't be late. Claire, the stylist, was a tiny woman with bright red hair and an energy that filled the entire room. Okay, honey, let's see what we're working with, she said, circling Emma like a fashion designer examining a blank canvas. Hair, makeup, dress, shoes, we're doing a complete transformation. I don't need a transformation, Emma protested weakly. Sweetie, you're attending a gala where dresses cost more than cars. Trust me, you need this. But Claire's smile was kind. Don't worry, we're not changing who you are. We're just armor-plating you for battle. 3 hours later, Emma didn't recognize herself in the mirror. The dress was black, simple, elegant, long sleeves and a high neckline modest, but the back plunged dramatically low. Her hair was styled in a sleek, sophisticated bun. Her makeup was flawless, subtle but polished. You look like you belong there, Claire said softly. Remember that tonight. Half the people at that gala are faking it too. You're just honest about where you came from. At 7 p.m., a limousine pulled up to the guest house. Emma stepped outside, her hands shaking. Marcus stood by the car looking devastating in a black tuxedo. But he wasn't alone. A woman stood beside him. Tall, blonde, impossibly beautiful in a red dress that looked like it had been painted onto her body. Her face was angular, sharp, with green eyes that assessed Emma in one sweeping glance. Emma, Marcus said, his voice carefully neutral. This is Vanessa Price, my fiancé. Vanessa's lips curved into a smile that never reached her eyes. So you're the charity project Marcus has been so secretive about. How quaint. Emma forced herself to smile back. Nice to meet you, Miss Price. I'm sure. Vanessa turned to Marcus, placing a possessive hand on his chest. Darling, are you absolutely certain about bringing her tonight? She'll be eaten alive. These events can be so cruel to outsiders. Emma can handle herself, Marcus said. Vanessa's laugh was cold crystalline. We'll see about that. In the limousine, Vanessa sat pressed against Marcus, her hand on his thigh, while Emma sat on the jump seat across from them, feeling like a third wheel. So, Emma, Vanessa said, swirling champagne in a crystal flute, tell me about your background. Harvard, Yale, perhaps Stanford. I worked at the Crown Restaurant, Emma said quietly. Oh, Vanessa's smile sharpened like a blade. How ambitious of you. From carrying plates to… What exactly? What's your official title? Chief Operations Analyst. Vanessa's laugh was louder this time. Analyst. Marcus Darling is that wise. The board will ask questions. What credentials does she have? She identified a $4 million theft in 90 minutes. Marcus said, his voice flat. That's her credential. Something flickered in Vanessa's eyes. Anger. Fear. It was gone too quickly for Emma to read. Well, Vanessa said, slowly taking another sip of champagne. Let's hope she can handle the pressure of tonight. These events can be so overwhelming for people who aren't used to them. The message was clear. You don't belong here. Emma sat in silence for the rest of the drive, her hands clenched in her lap, wondering what she'd gotten herself into. The Museum of Contemporary Art had been transformed into something from a fairy tale, if fairy tales were cold, expensive, and intimidating. Crystal chandeliers, ice sculptures 3 feet tall, waitstaff in pristine white jackets circulating with champagne, and hors d'oeuvres that probably cost $50 per tiny bite. Emma had worked events like this. She'd been the invisible person in the white jacket carrying trays, cleaning up spills, enduring the casual rudeness of people who had too much money and not enough empathy. Now she was walking through the front entrance in a designer dress, and the cognitive dissonance made her dizzy. "Stay close to me," Marcus murmured as they entered, but Vanessa immediately linked her arm through his. "Actually, darling, I absolutely must introduce you to Mayor Henderson. He's been asking about the new data center project, and we really need his support for the zoning variance." Marcus glanced at Emma. "Will you be all right on your own for a few minutes?" "No, absolutely not." "Yes, of course." Marcus and Vanessa disappeared into the crowd, leaving Emma standing alone near a Jackson Pollock that was probably worth more than her childhood home. Emma grabbed a glass of water, not champagne she needed to stay sharp, and tried to blend into the background. Old habits. Well, well, well. That voice. Emma's blood turned to ice. She turned slowly, already knowing what she'd see. Thompson stood there in a tuxedo holding a tray of champagne glasses, her old manager from The Crown, the man who'd made her life miserable for 3 years. "Emma Davis," Thompson said loudly, loud enough that people nearby turned to look. "What are you doing here? Did you sneak in? Is this some kind of scam?" Emma's face burned. "I was invited. I work here now." "Work here," Thompson laughed, and the sound carried across the room. "At the museum. Doing what? Mopping floors." He grabbed her arm roughly. "Come on, sweetheart. Let's get you outside before security spots you and things get ugly." A small crowd was forming. Emma recognized some of the faces, wealthy patrons from The Crown who'd never looked her in the eye when she served them. "I'm not crashing," Emma said, trying to keep her voice steady. "I work for Marcus Cole. I'm his chief operations analyst." "Sure you are. And I'm dating Beyonce." Thompson's grip tightened on her arm. "Let's go. Let go of her." Marcus's voice cut through the murmur of the crowd like a blade through silk. Thompson's hand dropped from Emma's arm like she'd suddenly caught fire. He turned, and his face went from smug to pale in an instant. "Mr. Cole, sir, I was just... This woman, Marcus said, his voice low and lethal, "is my chief operations analyst, my guest, my colleague." He stepped between Emma and Thompson, and suddenly the temperature in the room seemed to drop 20 degrees. "And if you ever put your hands on her again, Thompson, I will make it my personal mission to ensure you never work in this city again. I will contact every restaurant, every catering company, every venue manager. Your name will be poison." "Am I making myself clear?" Thompson's face went from pale to bright red. Yes, sir. I'm sorry, sir. I didn't know." "Now you know. Get out of my sight." Thompson practically ran toward the exit. The crowd dispersed, people suddenly very interested in the art on the walls. Emma's hands were shaking. "Thank you." "Don't thank me. You shouldn't have to deal with men like that." Marcus placed a hand on the small of her back, a gesture that felt protective, possessive. "Come, there's someone you should meet." He led her to a quiet alcove where an older black man stood examining a Rothko. "Robert," Marcus said, "this is Emma Davis, my new analyst." Robert turned. He had kind eyes, silver hair, and a gentle smile. "Analyst Marcus, you said you were looking for fresh perspective, but..." He extended his hand to Emma. "No offense intended, my dear, but you look rather young for such a senior position." She identified a major theft in our logistics division that our entire audit team missed, Marcus said. "In 90 minutes. Robert's eyebrows rose. "Impressive. What's your background, Miss Davis, MIT, Carnegie Mellon?" "The restaurant industry," Emma said honestly. Robert laughed warmly. "Well, that's certainly a perspective we don't have on the board. Robert Chen, board director. It's a pleasure to meet you, Emma." They shook hands. Robert's grip was firm, respectful, treating her like an equal. "Emma, I need to speak with Robert privately for a moment," Marcus said. "Business. Why don't you mingle, listen, observe. We'll regroup in 20 minutes. Emma didn't want to be left alone again, but she nodded. "Okay." Emma drifted through the gala, keeping to the edges, invisible out of habit. She learned quickly that the best information came from people who thought no one was listening. Near the bar, a group of men in expensive suits talked loudly over their whiskey. "Cole's going to take a hit when the merger news breaks publicly. You think the board will approve the Titan deal? Depends entirely on Vanessa. She's got at least 3 votes locked in her pocket, maybe 4. If she pushes it hard enough, Marcus is out. Emma's pulse quickened. She pretended to admire a nearby sculpture edging closer. Vanessa wants the chairmanship that badly. She's been planning this for months, maybe longer. The David Harrison situation, that's just the opening move. She's building a narrative that Marcus's judgment is compromised, that he's becoming erratic. How? Think about it. He fired his own brother-in-law without a proper investigation, hired a waitress with 0 business credentials for a senior position, ended his engagement abruptly. Classic signs of someone losing control. Vanessa's going to use all of it to convince the board that Marcus needs to be removed for the good of the company. Emma felt sick. She moved away from the group, her mind racing. Vanessa wasn't just Marcus's fiancée, she was planning a coup. Emma needed proof. She needed evidence. She spotted Vanessa across the room talking with a nervous-looking man in glasses. Emma drifted closer, staying hidden behind a large sculpture. "The vote will happen next month," Vanessa was saying in a low voice. "It'll be close, but with David's testimony that Marcus has been vindictive and erratic in his firing decisions." "David will actually testify," the man interrupted nervously. "He's my brother. He'll do exactly what I tell him to do." Vanessa's smile was sharp, predatory. "And once Marcus is out as CEO, you'll get your promotion. Head of operations." "That's what you wanted, isn't it, Michael?" "Yes, absolutely, Miss Price. Whatever you need." Emma's mind reeled. David Harrison wasn't just Marcus's brother-in-law. He was Vanessa's brother, and they were working together to destroy Marcus. Emma found Marcus near the main gallery, still talking with Robert Chen. She waited until their conversation ended, then pulled Marcus aside urgently. "We need to talk, right now." Marcus frowned at her urgency. "What's wrong?" "Vanessa, she's planning to remove you as CEO next month. She's going to use David's firing to prove you're unstable and your judgment is compromised. And Marcus David Harrison is her brother. They're working together." Marcus's expression didn't change, but Emma saw his hands slowly curl into fists at his sides. "How do you know this?" "I overheard her just now, talking to someone named Michael about testimony and board votes and taking over operations after you're removed." "Emma," Marcus's voice was dangerously quiet. "Go back to the estate. Take the car. I'll handle this." "But I can help." "This is not your fight. Not yet." He looked at her and his eyes had gone cold again. "The Ice King. Go home. That's an order." Emma wanted to argue, but she recognized that look. She'd seen it in the mirror too many times, the look of someone about to do something they couldn't take back. She left. But as she walked to the car, she glanced back through the museum's massive glass windows. Marcus was crossing the room toward Vanessa, cutting through the crowd like a shark through water, and Vanessa was watching him come, a small smile playing at her lips. 3 weeks passed. Lily's surgery was a complete success. Dr. Chen said the bone marrow transplant had taken beautifully. Lily's body was accepting the new cells. The prognosis was excellent, better than excellent. Lily was going to live. Emma spent every night at the hospital, sleeping in the chair by Lily's bed, holding her daughter's hand, watching color slowly return to Lily's face. Marcus visited twice. He brought gifts, an iPad loaded with drawing apps, a giant stuffed bear flowers for Emma. "How is she?" he asked, standing at the foot of Lily's bed. "She's doing really well. The doctors are amazed at how fast she's recovering." Marcus nodded. He looked exhausted, dark circles under his eyes, his jaw perpetually tight. "Marcus, what happened with Vanessa after the gala?" "I confronted her. She denied everything, said you misheard, said you're lying because you—" He stopped, looking uncomfortable. "Because you have feelings for me and you're trying to sabotage our relationship." Emma's face burned. "That's not—" "I know it's not true. I know you're telling me what you heard." Marcus ran a hand over his face. "I ended the engagement, told her to move out of the estate. She threatened to sue me, threatened to go to the board with complaints about hostile work environment and wrongful termination of her brother." "I'm sorry." "Don't be. This is my mess, not yours." Marcus moved toward the door. "Focus on Lily. Get her healthy. We'll deal with everything else later." But later came sooner and harder than Emma expected. On a Tuesday morning, 3 weeks after Lily's successful surgery, 2 days before she was scheduled to be released from the hospital, Emma woke in the guest house to find 2 security guards standing outside her door. "Miss Davis," one of them said, "Mr. Cole has requested your immediate presence in his office." Emma's stomach twisted. Something was very wrong. She threw on clothes and ran to the main house. Marcus's office door was closed. She could hear raised voices inside Marcus and someone else. Emma knocked. The voices stopped. "Come in," Marcus said. Emma pushed open the door. Marcus stood behind his massive desk, his face carved from stone. Vanessa sat in one of the leather chairs, perfectly composed, in a white pantsuit, not a hair out of place. And on the desk between them sat a laptop screen facing Emma, her email inbox, her login, her account. "Did you really think I wouldn't find out?" Marcus asked. His voice was quiet, controlled. But Emma heard the devastation underneath a man who'd been betrayed by someone he'd started to trust. "Find out what?" Emma's heart hammered against her ribs. "Marcus, what's going on?" Vanessa stood gracefully. "Last night at 11:47 p.m., someone accessed Cole Industries' confidential server from your IP address. They downloaded classified merger documents, the entire Titan Corp acquisition plan, and sent them to our largest competitor." "What no?" "I was at the hospital. I was with Lily all night." "The logs don't lie, Emma." Vanessa turned the laptop toward her. "Look, right there. Your username, your password, your IP address from the guest house network. 11:47 p.m. last night." Emma stared at the screen in horror. It was her login, her credentials. But she hadn't been anywhere near the guest house last night. "This is fake," Emma said desperately. "Vanessa, you're framing me. You doctored these logs. Frame you." Vanessa's eyebrows arched. "Why on earth would I frame you? I don't even work for Cole Industries anymore. Marcus fired me 3 weeks ago. Remember, I have no access to IT systems, no ability to manipulate logs." Her voice was perfectly reasonable, perfectly believable. "I'm only here as a courtesy because Marcus called me last night after his security team discovered the breach." "Marcus, you have to believe me. I didn't do this. Check the hospital security cameras. Check my car's GPS. I wasn't even here." "There's more," Marcus said quietly. He pulled out a bank statement and placed it on the desk. Emma looked down. Her account, her routing number. Highlighted in yellow, a deposit of $75,000 from an offshore account, dated 2 days ago. "This money appeared in your account 48 hours ago," Marcus said, "from a shell company registered in the Cayman Islands, the same day you had access to the merger documents." Emma felt the room spinning. "I don't know where that money came from." "I didn't." Vanessa pulled out her phone. "There's also this." She showed Emma a photograph. It showed Emma standing in a parking garage with a man in a suit. They appeared to be having an intense conversation. "This is you," Vanessa said, "meeting with Jonathan Cross, CEO of Titan Corp, our primary competitor, 4 days ago. Our facial recognition software confirmed his identity. Same day you accessed the confidential files." Emma's stomach dropped. She recognized the parking garage. It was the hospital parking structure. And the man. "That's not Jonathan Cross," Emma said desperately. "That's Dr. Harrison, Dr. Michael Harrison. He's Lily's oncologist. We were discussing her post-surgery care plan." "Really?" Vanessa zoomed in on the photo. "Because our system ran the image through 3 separate facial recognition databases. All 3 confirmed Jonathan Cross with 94% accuracy." "Then your system is wrong or you doctored the photo." "Emma, stop." Marcus's voice cracked like a whip. Emma flinched. Marcus looked at her, and the pain in his eyes was devastating. Raw, real. "I trusted you," he said, his voice breaking. "I pulled you out of hell. I saved your daughter's life. I gave you a home, a job, a future. I started to—" He stopped himself, jaw clenching. "I thought you were different. I thought you were honest. I defended you to Vanessa. I defended you to the board when they questioned your qualifications. And this entire time, you were selling me out." "Marcus, no. Please. I let you into my home." His hands shook. "Into my business. Into my—" He couldn't finish. "Vanessa warned me. She said you'd use Lily's illness to manipulate me. She said you'd get close and then betray me for money. And I told her she was being paranoid. I told her you weren't like that." Tears streamed down Emma's face. "I didn't do this. I swear on Lily's life." "Don't." Marcus's voice turned to ice. "Don't you dare bring your daughter into this. You already used her to get close to me." "Marcus, get out of my house." He turned away from her, facing the windows. "You have 1 hour to pack your belongings and leave the estate. If you're not gone, I'll call the police and have you arrested for corporate espionage." "What about Lily, her follow-up treatments, the medications?" "I'll continue covering Lily's medical care. I'm not a monster. I won't punish a child for her mother's crimes." He turned back, and his eyes were dead. "But you're fired. You're banned from Cole Industries property, and if I ever see you again, Emma, I will destroy you. I will make sure you never work anywhere in this city. Do you understand?" Two security guards stepped forward. Emma wanted to fight, to scream, to somehow prove her innocence, but she had nothing. No proof. Just her word against digital evidence and photos and bank deposits. The guards escorted her out. In the guest house, Emma threw her clothes into her battered suitcase with shaking hands. She looked around at the life she'd briefly lived, the nice furniture, the art supplies for Lily the safety, all of it gone in an instant. As the guards walked her to the front gate of the estate, Emma looked back one last time. Vanessa stood at Marcus's office window on the second floor, watching Emma's humiliation. Their eyes met across the distance, and Vanessa winked, a slow, deliberate wink. Then she smiled and walked away from the window. The Starlight Motel on the south side of Chicago cost $42 a night. The room smelled like cigarettes and mildew. The mattress was thin and lumpy with springs that dug into Emma's back. The shower ran cold after 30 seconds. The walls were so thin, Emma could hear her neighbors arguing about who forgot to buy milk. It was all she could afford now. Emma sat on the edge of the bed staring at her phone. She had $312 left in her checking account, what remained after she'd paid Lily's hospital deposit and 2 months of motel rent in advance. Lily was still at the hospital doing well, getting stronger every day. The nurses said she'd be released in 2 days. Emma visited every afternoon, lying about where she was staying, saying she was nearby for work. But in 2 days, Lily would need somewhere to live, and Emma had nothing. She wanted to give up, to curl into a ball and stop existing. Instead, she opened her ancient laptop, the one she'd bought at a pawn shop 5 years ago, and started thinking. Vanessa had framed her. That much was obvious. But how the IP address showing Emma accessed the server at 11:47 p.m., the email logs, the doctored photograph, the mysterious bank deposit, all of it was too perfect, too coordinated, too clean. Emma thought about what Marcus had taught her. Look for patterns. Look for what doesn't fit. She opened a browser and searched Vanessa Price Attorney Chicago. Dozens of results. Successful, powerful, Yale law graduate, specialized in corporate mergers and hostile takeovers. Emma clicked on Vanessa's LinkedIn profile. Education, Yale Law School. Previous employment, Harrison and Associates, a boutique corporate law firm. Harrison. Emma's pulse quickened. She searched Harrison and Associates Law Firm, Chicago. The firm had been dissolved 3 years ago after financial irregularities and embezzlement led to federal charges. Emma dug deeper. Court documents, news articles, criminal proceedings. The firm's founder, Robert Harrison, had been convicted of embezzling $8 million from clients. He was currently serving an 8-year sentence at a federal prison in Indiana. Robert Harrison, father of Vanessa Price and David Harrison. Emma's hands shook as she kept searching. David Harrison's employment history before Cole Industries: 6 years at Titan Corp in their logistics division. Titan Corp, the same company that supposedly received the stolen Cole Industries documents. This wasn't just about revenge. This wasn't just about removing Marcus from power. This was about a merger, a takeover, stealing an entire company. Vanessa and David had learned from their father how to manipulate, how to steal, how to cover tracks with layers of legitimacy. But Emma needed proof. Hard evidence, not theories and connections. She grabbed her phone and called the only person who might help her. "Yeah." Jake's voice was rough with sleep. "Jake, it's Emma Davis from Cole Industries. I need a favor. Do you know what time it is? It's 3 in the morning. I know, and I'm sorry, but I'm being framed for corporate espionage, and I think the proof I need is in the Pier 47 security footage from 3 weeks ago." Silence. Then, "That's a serious accusation. It's a serious frame job." Emma's voice cracked. "Please, Jake. You helped me once before. I'm asking again. Please." Another long silence. "Meet me at the diner on Roosevelt in 30 minutes. Jake looked tired and suspicious, but he listened as Emma explained everything over terrible coffee at an empty diner. "So you think this Vanessa woman and her brother have been planning this for months?" Jake asked. "I think they've been planning it since their father went to prison. This is their revenge and their payday all at once." Jake rubbed his face. "I still have access to the old security system at Pier 47, but if anyone finds out I'm helping you, they won't, I promise. 40 minutes later, they stood in the small office overlooking Pier 47. Jake hadn't worked there in years, but when Cole Industries had leased part of the pier for logistics overflow, he'd been brought in as a third-party systems technician. The security infrastructure was old, fragmented. No one had ever bothered to fully revoke his credentials. Corporate blind spots, Jake muttered as he logged in. They're always too busy protecting the new systems to remember the old ones. Jake's fingers flying over an ancient keyboard. What date am I looking for? 3 weeks ago, Wednesday night, around 9 p.m. Grainy black and white footage appeared on the monitor. There, Emma said, pointing. That's Vanessa. On the screen, Vanessa Price walked into the warehouse wearing jeans and a dark jacket, nothing like her usual polished appearance. She met David Harrison near a stack of shipping containers. They talked for several minutes. Then Vanessa handed David a small USB drive. "Can you zoom in?" Emma asked. Jake did. The USB drive was clearly visible. Emma pulled out her phone and took photos of the screen. "That's data transfer, physical handoff, 3 weeks before I was accused of digital theft." "That doesn't prove she framed you," Jake pointed out. "No, but it proves conspiracy. It proves they're working together." Emma's mind raced. "I need more. Communication records, financial transactions, something that connects Vanessa directly to fabricating the evidence against me." Jake shook his head firmly. "That's hacking, Emma. That's illegal. That's serious federal crimes. I can't help you with that." "I know." Emma saved the photos to her phone. "But thank you for this, Jake. It's a start." She left the warehouse with her first piece of real evidence. Now she needed the rest. Emma spent the next 48 hours teaching herself to hack. She watched YouTube tutorials at 2 a.m. She read coding forums and downloaded programs she barely understood. She made mistakes, lots of them crashing her laptop twice. She wasn't good at this, but desperation was a powerful teacher. On the third day, she found a vulnerability. Vanessa had used the same password across multiple accounts, a common mistake even smart people made. Her personal email password matched her old law firm login, which had been compromised in a data breach 2 years ago. The password was publicly available on the dark web, sitting there, waiting for someone to find it. Emma found it. She got into Vanessa's email, and what she found made her blood turn to ice. Hundreds of emails between Vanessa and David, planning everything, coordinating every detail. "Marcus is getting suspicious after the gala. We need to accelerate the timeline. The waitress is smarter than she looks. She's becoming a liability. We need to neutralize her. Frame her for espionage. Make it look like she sold us out. Marcus will never trust her again. Once Marcus is removed as CEO, we merge Cole Industries with Titan. 60/40th split. You control operations, I take legal counsel and a board seat. Just like we planned. Father would be proud." Emma screenshot everything. Every single email. Every attachment. Every incriminating word. She also found the original photo of her with Dr. Harrison before it had been edited. The metadata showed multiple layers of Photoshop work, facial replacement techniques, timestamp manipulation. She had her proof. Now she just needed to deliver it before it was too late. Emma called Robert Chen at 7 a.m. on a Tuesday morning. "Robert Chen speaking." His voice was formal, professional. "Mr. Chen, this is Emma Davis. We met at the museum gala. I need your help urgently." "Miss Davis, I heard you'd been let go from Cole Industries. Something about corporate espionage." "I know. I was framed." Emma spoke quickly. "I have proof that Vanessa Price orchestrated everything. She and her brother David are planning a coup to remove Marcus as CEO and merge the company with Titan Corp. The board is meeting today to vote on Marcus's future. If you vote without seeing my evidence, you'll be making a catastrophic mistake." Silence. Then, "Those are extremely serious allegations. I have emails, security footage, financial records, doctored photos, everything you need to see the truth." Emma's voice shook. "Please, Mr. Chen, Marcus trusted me and I can't let him lose everything because of my failure to protect him. Just give me 5 minutes. That's all I'm asking." Another long pause. "Where are you?" "Starlight Motel, South Side. I'll be there in 20 minutes. Don't go anywhere." Robert Chen showed up in a Mercedes, looking distinctly uncomfortable in the motel parking lot. Emma met him at his car and showed him everything on her laptop. The security footage of Vanessa and David at the warehouse, the emails planning the frame job, the original unedited photo. the connection between David's previous employment at Titan Corp and the merger plan. Robert's expression went from skeptical to shocked to furious as he scrolled through the evidence. He looked at Emma. This is criminal conspiracy, fraud, corporate espionage, actual espionage, not the fake version they accused you of. I know, but first we need to stop the vote. Robert checked his expensive watch. The emergency board meeting starts in 2 hours. They're convening to vote on Marcus's removal as CEO. Vanessa's been lobbying the board members all week, building her case that Marcus is unstable. Then we need to go now. Emma, Robert looked at her seriously. If you walk into that boardroom, you're putting yourself in legal jeopardy. Vanessa could sue you for hacking. The board could have you arrested. I don't care. Emma's voice was steady. Marcus gave me a chance when no one else would. He saved my daughter's life. I'm not going to stand by and watch him lose everything because I was too afraid to fight. Robert smiled. Well then, let's go to war. Cole Industries headquarters occupied the top 15 floors of one of Chicago's tallest buildings. The boardroom was on the 40th floor, a glass-walled space with a view of the entire city. Through those glass walls, Emma could see them 15 board members seated around a massive mahogany table. Marcus sat at the head, looking exhausted and defeated. Vanessa stood at a podium with a PowerPoint presentation behind her mid-speech. The security breach caused by Mr. Cole's poor judgment in hiring unqualified personnel has cost us the Titan merger, Vanessa was saying. Titan withdrew their offer after learning our confidential acquisition strategy had been leaked to competitors. This represents an estimated loss of $200 million in projected revenue. She clicked to the next slide, a photo of Emma. Emma Davis. No business education, no relevant experience. Hired based on what? Sympathy attraction? Whatever the reason, Marcus's emotional decision-making has now cost this company dearly. Vanessa turned to face Marcus. I take no pleasure in this, but the board has a fiduciary responsibility to shareholders. We cannot allow personal feelings to compromise billions of dollars in value. She looked at the board members. I move for a vote of no confidence in Marcus Cole as CEO, effective immediately. Seconded, said a man at the far end of the table. The lead director, a white-haired man named Harrison, no relation to David, just unfortunate coincidence, looked at Marcus. Mr. Cole, do you have anything to say before we vote? Marcus looked utterly defeated. I take full responsibility for my judgment errors. If the board believes I object. The doors burst open. Emma strode into the room, Robert Chen right behind her. 2 security guards chased after them, but Robert held up his hand. I invoke my right as a board director to present new evidence before any vote, Robert said firmly. This meeting is not open to... Vanessa started, her face going pale. Actually, it is. Robert walked to the presentation screen and connected his laptop. Board Bylaws Section 7.3. Any director may introduce material evidence relevant to the matter at hand, regardless of the meeting agenda. He looked at Marcus. I apologize for the dramatic entrance, Marcus, but you need to see this. The security footage appeared on the screen, Vanessa and David at the warehouse, exchanging the USB drive. This is Vanessa Price, Robert said calmly, meeting with her brother David Harrison 3 weeks ago at Pier 47, exchanging data. This was taken before Emma Davis was accused of any wrongdoing. He clicked. Vanessa's emails filled the screen. And these are communications between Vanessa and David planning to frame Miss Davis, remove Marcus as CEO, and merge Cole Industries with Titan Corp, where David previously worked for personal profit. The room erupted in shocked murmurs. Vanessa slammed her hand on the podium. This is fabricated. She hacked my email. That's illegal. You can't use evidence obtained through criminal means. Then you won't mind if we turn all of this over to the FBI, Robert said calmly. I'm sure they'll be able to authenticate whether these emails are real or fabricated. They'll also be very interested in your family connection to David Harrison and your father's conviction for embezzlement. Pattern of behavior, they call it. He clicked again. The doctored photo appeared split screen with the original. This is the photo Vanessa provided as evidence of Emma meeting with Titan Corp's CEO. And this is the original image showing the metadata of extensive Photoshop editing, facial replacement, timestamp manipulation, professional-grade forgery. Marcus stood slowly. His eyes found Emma in the doorway. For a long moment, they just stared at each other. Then Marcus turned to Vanessa. His voice was deadly quiet. Get out. Marcus, you have to listen to me. I did this for us, for the company. She was a threat. I said get out. His voice rose. Security is downstairs. They'll escort you to the federal building. FBI agents are already waiting. If you resist, this gets much worse for you. Vanessa looked around the table. Every board member stared at her with disgust or shock, some with both. She grabbed her briefcase with shaking hands and walked toward the door. As she passed Emma, she leaned in close. You think you've won? Vanessa whispered viciously. You're still just a waitress playing dress-up. He'll get bored of you. He'll realize you're nothing. And when he does, you'll be back in that motel, and I'll make sure you never work again. Emma looked her directly in the eyes. I'm not playing anymore, and I'm not afraid of you. 2 security guards met Vanessa at the elevator. The doors closed on her furious face. The boardroom fell silent. Then the lead director spoke. The motion to remove Marcus Cole as CEO is withdrawn. The floor is now open for... Actually, Marcus interrupted, his voice rough. I have something to say first. He walked around the table to where Emma stood. I'm sorry, he said. I should have trusted you. I should have believed you. Instead, I threw you out. I called you a liar and a traitor. I believed the worst of you because I was... He stopped struggling with the words. Because I was terrified. Terrified of what? Emma whispered. Of how much I was starting to care about you. Of how vulnerable that made me feel. Marcus took a step closer. I left you $0 that night at the restaurant because a tip is what you give a servant. And I didn't want a servant. I wanted... He pulled something from his pocket. The receipt from the crown. Worn and creased from being carried. I kept this, Marcus said, to remind myself that value has nothing to do with money. That the most important people are the ones who see you clearly, all your flaws, all your fears, and choose to stay anyway. He looked at Emma. You came back after everything I did to you. After I humiliated you and threw you out and refused to believe you, you still came back to save me. Tears streamed down Emma's face. You saved my daughter's life. How could I not come back? Emma. Marcus closed the distance between them. I don't want an employee. I don't want an analyst. I want a partner. A real partner. He pulled a small box from his other pocket. This isn't a marriage proposal. Not yet. We barely know each other. We have a lot to figure out. But I'm asking you to build something with me. 50-50. Equal partnership. In business and in everything else. He opened the box. A simple diamond ring sat inside. I'm asking you to take a chance on us. On this crazy, impossible, beautiful thing that started with a $0 tip and a midnight meeting in a warehouse. Emma looked at the ring. At Marcus. At the room full of board members watching with various expressions of shock and confusion. You're insane, she whispered. Probably. This could fail. This could end badly. Most things worth doing could. Marcus smiled, genuinely smiled. But I'd rather fail trying to build something real with you than succeed at a life that means nothing. Emma thought about Lily, healthy and recovering. About proving that people like her, people from nowhere with nothing, deserved seats at tables. About choosing to believe in something bigger than fear. Okay, she said. Okay? 50-50. Partners, let's do this. Marcus slipped the ring onto her finger. Then he kissed her. It wasn't a movie kiss. It wasn't perfect or cinematic. It was desperate and real, 2 broken people starting to believe in second chances. When they pulled apart, the boardroom was silent. Then Robert Chen started clapping. Slowly, the other board members joined in. Marcus turned to face them. Meeting adjourned. Emma and I have a lot of work to do. 6 months later, Emma Davis Cole stood in front of the Crown restaurant wearing a navy power suit tailored perfectly to her new life. Lily stood beside her, holding Emma's hand, wearing a pink dress and a huge smile. Lily's hair had grown back in beautiful soft curls, and her cheeks were pink with health. Are you sure about this, Mommy? Lily asked. I'm sure, baby. This is important. They walked inside together. Rachel stood at the host station. She looked up, started to give her professional smile, then froze. Emma. Hello, Rachel. Emma placed a thick envelope on the host stand. I'm here to make a donation. 100 checks, $10,000 each, for the waitstaff. Rachel stared at the envelope like it might explode. There's a letter inside, too, Emma continued. It explains that everyone who works here deserves more than 15% tips and fake smiles. That your value isn't determined by your title or your education. It also includes information about the scholarship fund. I've established full tuition living expenses and guaranteed internships at Cole Industries for anyone who wants to do something more. Thompson emerged from the back, saw Emma, and went white as a sheet. You, he said. Me. Emma smiled. It wasn't a cruel smile, just satisfied. "I'm not here to cause problems, Mr. Thompson. I'm here to say thank you." "Thank me for what?" "For being exactly who you are. You made my life miserable. You treated me like I was worthless. You made me so angry that I refused to give up even when giving up would have been easier." Emma gestured around the restaurant. "So thank you. You were the villain I needed to become the hero of my own story." She took Lily's hand. "Have a good life, Mr. Thompson. I know I will." They walked out into the sunshine. Marcus waited by the car, smiling when he saw them. "How did it feel?" he asked. "Satisfying," Emma admitted, "but also sad. I used to think I needed their approval, their respect. And now I know the only approval I need is my own." She looked at Lily, then at Marcus, then at the ring on her finger. "Ready to go home." "Always," Marcus said. 1 year later, the Cole Foundation's annual scholarship ceremony filled the ballroom with 500 recipients. Single parents, service workers, people who'd been told they weren't good enough, smart enough, worthy enough. Emma stood at the podium looking out at all those hopeful faces. "1 year ago, I was a waitress working double shifts to save my daughter's life," she said. "A billionaire left me a $0 tip and a note that changed everything. That night, I learned the most important lesson of my entire life." She paused, letting the silence build. "Your circumstances don't define you. Your past doesn't define you. What defines you is what you do when the world tells you no, when someone leaves you zero, when every door slams shut." Emma smiled. "You don't need permission to be valuable. You don't need someone to see your worth. You just need to see it yourself. And then fight like hell to prove it." The audience erupted in applause, standing ovation, 500 people on their feet. Backstage, Marcus waited with Lily, now 7 years old, completely healthy, thriving. "You were amazing, Mom," Lily said, throwing her arms around Emma. Marcus kissed Emma's forehead, ready to change more lives. Emma looked at her family, at the foundation they'd built, at the thousands of people they'd helped. "Always," she said, "because that's what you do when someone gives you a second chance. You pay it forward. You turn zero into infinity. You prove that kindness and opportunity can change everything." If this story touched your heart, share it with someone who needs to hear that they're worth more than the world tells them. Share it with anyone who's working 2 jobs, duct taping their shoes together, wondering if things will ever get better. Because Emma's story isn't just hers. It's every single person who's been underestimated, overlooked, dismissed, and refused to stay down. 0 tips don't mean 0 worth. Remember that.
Join us to share meaningful stories by hitting the like and subscribe buttons. Don't forget to turn on the notification bell to start your day with profound lessons and heartfelt empathy.